And my friend Divyang Prajapati, Mr. Divyang Prajapati, I should say, you can see his icon PYPHY. He is actually logging into this talk via his YouTube channel. He has a very wonderful YouTube channel. I am fan of his all of his videos. He makes videos on Python and physics. So that's why the name PYPHY, Python Physics. And he is a wonderful orator. And I'm personally fan of your PPT art, friend. You make such a wonderful PPT. But let me give you its introduction. And as I say this, it is my immense pleasure to introduce Divyang Prajapati. When I was in my BSc, I met a guy who was standing on the staircase with his earphones in his ears and was dancing on the staircase. So I thought, yes, this guy is something great because nobody could dare to do these things in our universe. So he did this, and I asked him, "What are you listening?" He said one of the EDMs. I don't remember the name of that EDM, but he was listening to wonderful music. And I am fan of EDM today because of this guy. He listens to all the kind of musics, and all in my 3 years of BSc and right now till we are friends, he just discuss musics more often, and he has changed my perception or taste of music. Thank you, Divyang, for that. But that was a very personal introduction. Why is he here to talk among all of us? Let me give you his professional introduction. He runs a YouTube channel that's called PYPHY, Python Physics, and he puts wonderful videos there. But in our BSc, he was a person who looked at a small thing called integration by parts in an entirely different perspective. And he wrote a paper, a power series expansion of a function by just using this simple concept called integration by parts. You should read his paper. It is wonderful mathematics paper. Now, he also was a guy who was in our BSc. He was looked upon as a research scholar even in BSc because he was the guy who there is a tokamak at Institute for Plasma Research called Aditya, and that tokamak is there are some experiments going on to make fusion energy out of that tokamak. And Divyang is a guy who simulated that complete tokamak's magnetic field using MATLAB codes, and then again using Python codes, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes, Python.
Same. Yes. So he made the codes of magnetic field inside the tokamak using this MATLAB and Python, and he did his MSc project internship from Germany. He till date has 3 publications onto his names, 3 research paper publications onto his names in maths and physics. So he is a honors BSc graduate in physics, but still he has papers in mathematics as well. And I feel myself fortunate that he accepted our invitation of Project Bhagwati to talk on this platform of Project Bhagwati, to talk with all the students and volunteers of Project Bhagwati and with all our other friends who have joined today. So I really thank you, Divyang, for being the part of this talk. I really thank you. And thank you everyone from apart from the basic family of Project Bhagwati, all the extended family of Project Bhagwati, I should say, friends and family. Thank you for being present here. Now I would give the stage to Divyang. Divyang, please carry on. Thank you very much.
So first of all, I should say thank you to Nisar for introducing me, and it was good. Okay. So let me start my presentation. So yes. So is this visible now, guys? Can anyone answer, please?
Yes.
It is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So hello friends and welcome to today's talk. And today we will learn physics via computer science. So let's begin with introduction. Okay. So today what we know as a physics is basically a set of rules, concepts and hypotheses, right? And based on these ideas, we create mathematical theories and mathematical models. And this practice, this entire practice is so powerful that we can create spaceships, nuclear power plants, and myriads of technological gadgets, right? All thanks to this procedure. But if we look closely, if we ask ourselves, then this practice has its own limitations. You may ask what the limitation it has. I mean, it's a huge success. But if we look closely, then the only limitation is this label. This label physics itself is the limit, right? Let me explain my point. If we throw questions like how matter will behave in a stellar environment, or if we ask this label how our spaceship will move in universe, then this label will answer a satisfactory it will answer a satisfactory it will give a satisfactory answer, right? But if we ask some questions like what do I do if I get a COVID, right? And say, for example, if I ask what should I do if I want to become a successful businessman or successful businesswoman, then this label won't answer. Apparently, it is clear that these questions are coming from different areas. The former questions were from medical science and business. And similarly, there are other fields. For example, if you are curious about 1,000-year-old civilization, then you should ask an archaeologist. Or if you are curious about some questions like what's the meaning of life, or what basically what jealousy or envy or sorrow mean, then you should ask philosophy or religious texts. And how can we forget politics? Okay, if you are curious about global supply chain, then you should ask a politician. So these are all different areas, all different labels. But my point is, knowledge is beyond all these labels. If we remove all these labels, then beneath all these things, we have a pure knowledge. And knowledge does not know any boundaries. And in today's talk, we will try to blur boundaries between two science giants, physics and computer science. So let's begin our computer science journey. Okay. Now, you may ask, why too much emphasis over computer science? The answer is very simple. And the answer is this huge number, this 10 raised to 10. Can you guess what it is? Can anyone answer me? Anyone from audience?
Can it be total number of stars in some supercluster or galaxy or universe?
Could be. So, this huge number is basically number of operations your computer can perform in a second. Okay. So right now your ordinary laptop is performing this much operation within a single second. See the potential. Okay. And this potential is used by various fields, various disciplines. Computers are everywhere. For example, if you see in business, then today's stock market you can't imagine without computer. Okay, then how can we forget our entertainment, our source of entertainment? Mobile phones, social media, all are due to this huge number. And obviously other fields like arts, politics, medical science, education, right? Computers are everywhere. So does this number. Okay. But in today's talk, we will try to connect this huge number with physics. So let us begin now. Now, in the first attempt to establish the connection between physics and that big number is differential equation. See, what we scientists do basically is we observe the mother nature, okay, and based on our understanding we write down mathematical equations, and those equations follow laws of physics. The very next thing we do is we try to solve them, right? And based on solution we predict results and some outcome. Okay, so this is the common practice. Now here comes the problem. When we try to understand nature, it often become more and more complicated. Okay, so what do I mean is what we learn in our textbook is very limited. It is not that realistic. It is a special case, and those special cases are analytically solvable, right? So, but if we, for example, if we want to understand it even more, if we want to understand the nature, or let us say, if we want to understand some particular system better, then this differential equation become more and more complicated. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, if you want to study the motion of a car, then first thing what you do is you write some very simple differential equation, linear equations of motion. So those equations are really easy to handle. But in real life, there is not only a car, there is a air resistance, right? So if you want to introduce those effects in your equations, then you should add differential equations for air resistance, resistance with road. For example, if you want to include heating effect of an engine, so those things if you want to introduce, then differential equations became complicated. And I afraid those complex equations are not that easy to solve. So what we do is we go for numerical techniques and we generate numerical results. This pushes our understanding of a particular system to almost 80%. But here's the catch. This 80% understanding is not free. We pay a price. That's called accuracy. Now you may know that from your numerical class that if we want to enhance accuracy of your numerical result, then you have to perform more and more iterations. And we just saw that computers are extremely good at performing iterative methods, okay, iterative procedures. So what we can do, guys, is we can code our system, okay, or our equations in our laptop and wait till we get the results, okay, and at the end we can predict some outcome. Let's understand this thing further with this illustration. Consider a charged particle having a unit mass and unit charge. So charge to mass ratio is unity. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that thing. Now, what I want from you, that you predict the trajectory of this simple tiny particle if it is a free particle, right? It is very simple, right? Some linear equation you will get. Now let's complicate this situation. We introduce a magnetic field. It's a complex, but still equations are solvable. If we further increase the complexity, then we introduce both electric and magnetic field. We may have some weird equations, but it is solvable. Now comes this actual part. See, if we want to introduce a constant gradient in magnetic field, or say if we want to introduce a constant B theta field, constant toroidal field, or say if we want to achieve a mirror effect, magnetic mirror effect, then I think we cannot solve those differential equations analytically. In this last three cases, we have to go for numerical results. See this entire chain, guys. First, things were very simple, but it was of no use, right? In last three cases, things are extremely difficult, not analytically solvable, but they have immense importance in plasma physics. Let's try to understand it mathematically. Let's see what kind of numerical techniques we can apply. Okay, so we all know from our plasma physics class that this equation controls the motion. And if we want to understand this gradient thing, then we should introduce this kind of a magnetic field. Bz equal to some constant magnetic field plus some gradient term. Okay, and if we plug this Bz field into this cross product, then we can get a motion of a charged particle inside this gradient field with having some gradient. The next is mirror effect. This is even more complicated, guys. In the mirror effect, you will have this kind of a BR field, okay, this kind of a radial field plus this BZ field. So it's a big equation, and not forget that you have to plug this magnetic field in this equation. So this kind of things are not exactly solvable. So for that, what we do is, now I will change the window. So in that case, we will do numerical analysis. And this is the code which I have written to solve this equation. Let me first demonstrate you this effect. What will happen if I introduce my charged particle inside a constant B theta field? First, I will introduce this thing. So this is the code, guys. It may look very small, but if you see inside, if I expand this thing, then you will see here is my expression for electric field, here's my expression for magnetic field, and here is my Boris algorithm, the numerical technique which I am using to solve my equation of motion, right? So let me collapse this code and let's run this thing and see what kind of result we are getting. So it may get few seconds. So yes, one. So within few seconds, it will solve my differential equation. It will perform many calculations within a second, and it will generate a trajectory for me. a charged particle inside a constant b theta field. I think it is taking time. Yes. See, from here my particle has started its trajectory and it is following a b theta field. Okay. And you must notice that here is the graph for energy. This is the potential energy of my particle and this is the kinetic energy and total energy of a system. And see how my particle is gyrating. Lots of physics you can learn from this thing. Okay. Now, I see here that my charged particle is slowly moving upward. Okay, so if it is a tokamak like system, then what will happen if I put my particle at 0 0, then eventually it will go up and eventually it will hit the upper wall of the tokamak. Okay, so this kind of a physics you can learn from this thing. And one more thing, guys, it may look that it is 100% accurate, but it is not. As I said, we have to pay some price, and here's the price. Let me zoom in to this total energy curve. So yes, you may observe some tiny wiggles now. So this thing is the error. See, this much error we are getting from our numerical result. This result is not 100% correct, but I think it is accurate enough for my simulation, as we are getting accuracy up to 10 raised to minus 7. Okay, let me demonstrate one more effect. The second is magnetic mirror effect, and if I write 2 here, then it will generate a magnetic mirror effect for me. It will numerically solve those magnetic field expressions for me and generate an entire trajectory. So see, first my charged particle is moving upward, but slowly it is moving to convergence. Okay, now I think it will reflect back. Observe carefully, guys. Since there are too many dots, so it is hard to observe. I understand that, but see that it is coming back from the plane. Okay, so here is the thing. So this is how you can study magnetic mirror effect. And here also our results are not 100% accurate. See that what kind of an error we are getting. See, this kind of a error we are getting. Here the order of error is 10 raised to minus 6. But we can ignore this thing as it is very, very small. And obviously, if we want to increase this accuracy, we can increase the number of iterations. Okay, so let me close this window now. And back to the presentation. Now, the second section, artificial intelligence. How computer science can help with this artificial intelligence route. See, normally what we do is to model a system, we generally adopt the bottom-up approach. What do I mean is, we first identify the laws governing the system, Then we write mathematical equations. Then we try to solve them analytically or numerically. Numerical one we just saw, right? Those nice trajectories, right? And based on those solutions, we make predictions. Now, in the case of artificial intelligence, we adopt a completely different approach. Now, AI, artificial intelligence, learns from the existing data and try to predict the outcome. Okay, let me tell you what do I mean. Now, what we do is we write a code or we try to model AI that it can learn from existing data. And here is the example. See, for example, if I tell my AI code that this first row is this are the images of an aircraft plane, okay, then it will understand, okay, this figure is for for an aircraft. This second row is for car, the third row is for a bird. Then what our computer code will do is it will do some hidden mathematics, right? And this hidden mathematics at the end of the process will generate a trained model which you can save in H5 and JSON format. I will show you this thing in a moment. Just wait. And after we complete the training, we can use this trained model to make prediction. Say, for example, after this training, if I show my computer code that tell me what this image is, then it will answer that this image is of bird. Okay, let's see how this thing works. So here is my AI code. Let me close this window. So here is my AI code. Let me show you this thing. Will take some. Yes. So this is my artificial intelligence code. I won't go into much detail. So in this function, this def function, okay, I am loading data of an airplane, automobile, bird, and other things. Then in next function, this model CNN function is the actual part. This is the main part. This is the hidden mathematics which our computer is doing. Okay, so this thing is the real artificial intelligence. This is the heart of my code. And at the end of this process, here I am asking my trained model that tell me what is the what image is of. Okay, then based on its knowledge, it will answer me. Now, I can't run this thing on my computer because it may take some time. So I'm just avoiding this thing. And this H5, model.h5 and model.json are AI trained model, which I discussed here. So this is my trained model. Okay. So this was the artificial intelligence. And this thing is not limited to computer science itself. Physicists are using this thing. First thing is Wolfram Alpha and integral calculator. These two websites can solve your mathematics problem. Let me show you this websites. So can you see this thing, this website? Yeah. So this is the Wolfram Alpha website. As you can see, if I write integrate, here is the example, integrate x square sine cube x dx. Then let's see what kind of answer we are getting. So we don't have to take pen and paper and by hand solve this thing. Computers will solve it for you. See, we are getting this kind of an answer. So computers are good at mathematics as well. Okay, and here is the second website, integral calculator. Okay, and here is the web page for this website. If I hit a go button, then it will solve my integral problem. See here, it is generating results. Let me close this thing. So at the end of a process, you will get your answer with steps. Okay, show, if you expand this show step icon, then you will have steps as well. So this is the power of computer science. Okay, let's go to next slide. Now, scientists are using this thing for various physics process as well. This Alvaro has published a paper in which he has used artificial intelligence to predict the motion of a fluid. So what he basically done is he showed show thousands of fluid simulation to its AI model and trained it. And after that, he has predicted this type of a fluid simulation. See how realistic it is. These are not fluid simulation from differential equation. These are the AI prediction of a fluid models. This all three fluid simulations are predicted by an AI. Okay, and now comes the physics part, actual hardcore physics part. This guy Michael has used AI to predict Lagrangian of a system. So what basically he has done is he has gathered data of an pendulum, or single pendulum or double pendulum, and he has shown his AI model that tell me what would be the Lagrangian of this system. Okay, and what would be the equation of this equation of motion for this system. Then after few seconds, AI model has given this equations. Okay, so see how powerful it is. You just have to train your model, and based on that, it will predict the equation of motion. Okay. Now comes the third section, instrumentations. Now, controlling parameters of an instrument from a distance control room is the common practice for experiments which are hazardous to human health. See, for example, this is the CERN Atlas experiment. And obviously, you can't expect a scientist to manually go there and turn switch on and off, right? There is a separate control room for that task. So what you have to do is just go inside this control room, and you can control this huge experiment just from this control room. You may ask how they do it. The answer is Simulink like softwares. Okay, you may ask what is Simulink? So Simulink is a MATLAB based graphical programming environment for modeling, simulating, and analyzing a dynamic system. You may ask what is graphical programming? We have seen programming from differential equation, from AI, but what is this graphical programming? So this simply means that we can use simulation we can simulate the system without writing down the differential equation for it. What do I mean? You have to just drag and drop this kind of a box inside your Simulink panel, and all the differential equation are written inside this box. And if you when you hit the simulation button, it will predict the motion of your computer arm. Let me show you a simple demonstration for it. So this is a Simulink like software. This is XCOS from Scilab. You can note down this website, xcos.scilab.in, and here you have different graphical boxes. You can do electrical engineering task. For example, you have a capacitor, voltmeter, diode, and op-amp, other things. And if you are a mechanical engineer, then you have some sources like a constant sine source. Sine source can be used in a motor. Okay, you can design your motor or robotic arm with help of this boxes. Now all these mathematical equations are written inside this thing. What you have to do is you have to just drag and drop this box, right? And this is the simple sine wave, and I have already created a very simple model for you guys. So these are the two sine waves, and if you double click on it, you will have magnitude of sine wave. In this case, it is 10, frequency 1 hertz, and phase is 0. Basically, A sine omega t plus 5. Okay. So, and this second box is of another sine wave. Magnitude is 10, frequency is 5 hertz, and phase is pi by 2, 1.57 roughly. And this is a simply clock time, right? And if you plug all this thing in your XY scope, this is XY scope, guys. Okay, so you don't have to go in laboratory. You can just see your curves of voltage or curves of for current in this XCOS Scilab. Okay, and when you hit the simulation button, you will have a nice, what you will have, we have two different sine waves having different frequency and different phase. You guessed correctly, you have nice Lissajous pattern. So you can create this kind of a Lissajous pattern and other exercises you can do with this XCOS or Simulink website. Okay, so this was a XCOS Scilab, and let's leave this thing. And what you can do is you can load this computer model, this graphical computer model, to your hardware, and based on that program, it will react to your on and off switch. And as you may know, from now on, that Simulink or XCOS is a very powerful tool for modeling. That's why it has found its application in various engineering fields: mechanical engineering, power electronics, robotics, and computer science, and now in physics as well. Now, software or codes for specific field. Now, before I begin, here is the warning sign for you guys. The speaker would like to convey that the following approach is his personal opinion. You are not bounded to follow this thing. Okay, so what's this opinion? Let me share with you guys. Now, in your bachelor's, in my opinion, you should have a huge programming language. You should know Python, C++, MATLAB, JavaScript, and obviously LaTeX. Okay. Now the point is, you should you should be curious about various things. Okay, and scattered energy, and not fixed target. You should not have a fixed goal, but you should have a huge programming knowledge. Now, as soon as you go for your masters, in my opinion, in the speaker's opinion, you should start focusing on some target. You should decide your field of interest, and based on your interest, you should prepare your scientific tools. Okay, for example, if you are interested in chip designing, okay, then based on that you should choose your specific computer software or code. Okay, if you are interested in nuclear physics, then go for some scientific tools like Geont or Root. Or if you are interested in solid state physics or medical science, then you should, in my opinion, you should learn Schrodinger or Quantum Espresso. So that in your PhD you can do a highly focused work, and you are equipped with a professional scientific tools. So this was my opinion, and based on this opinion, I am discussing some specific softwares and codes for you. The first one is for nuclear physics. So if you want to pursue your PhD in nuclear physics, then in the speaker's opinion, you should learn this Geont 4 toolkit. So what is basically this Geont 4 toolkit? Geont 4 is the simulation package for the simulation of the passage of particle through matter. We'll tell you what this means. Its area of applications include high energy physics, nuclear and accelerator physics, as well as in studies in medical and space science. You can actually create this kind of a experiment with the help of this Geont toolkit. Let me show you a demonstration. See, this is the Geont 4 code. This B1 is the Geont 4 code. Okay, and this also, this B1 build. And let me simulate one result for you guys. Say source. Okay, hit the enter button and /example, and this will execute my Geont 4 code. See, this is what I am getting. You may see this blue box. Inside that we have two different geometries. Now let me tell you, this is not a simple geometry, guys. This blue box is water, and this geometry is our human bone, and this trapezoidal is human tissue. Okay, and if you want to study the effect of radiation on human body, then this example is for you. Let me show you. Please focus here in this session field. Let me bombard some gamma ray radiation by writing gun particle slash gamma. So it has told my Giant 4 that I want gamma radiation, and now I will turn on the beam, and for that I will write run slash beam on, and let us say I want 10 gamma rays. Then if I hit the enter, then within few seconds you will have some gamma rays. So here it is. See, from here I am bombarding my gamma radiation, and here you can see study that majority of radiation is just passing by, and very few gamma rays are actually interacting. Let us increase some gamma radiation. See, this kind of a simulation we are getting. See, few gamma rays are actually interacting with our body. See here, for example, you may see this red line. Can you guess what it is? It is electron positron pair. Okay, so this kind of a physics process you can simulate with Giant 4. Now let us change our particle. For example, instead of this gamma radiation, I want to bombard alpha particle. Can you guess what will happen? Let's see what will happen. Okay, see, here is my charged alpha particle, and what we are observing is alpha particles are just decaying on the surface, on our skin. Okay, and why it is that? Can you interpret the physics behind it? Obviously, it is a charged particle, so it will interact heavily with water, and it will immediately decay on the surface. Now, if you want to bombard more particles, then here is the list for it. Just write particle slash list, then you will have an entire list. See, you can bombard delta particle, quark, then anti, sigma, proton, neutron. All these particles you can bombard on this model and study the effect. Okay, so this kind of a effect you can study, and this thing has a huge application in medical science. So this was the Giant 4. Now comes the root. By the way, this Giant 4 was developed by CERN. Okay, and this root was also developed by CERN to analyze huge data, big data. Now let's see what this root is. Data analysis framework, root data analysis framework. So root enables scientific analysis and visualization of large amount of data. What do I mean by large amount of data? In the case of Higgs, in the case of nuclear physics, you may not have a data in size of a GB, but you will have a data in terabytes. So in that case, your Python or MATLAB won't help. Your computer would simply crash. So in that case, root will help you. So root is written in C++, and it is open source, and it is available on almost all operating systems, Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. Okay, so in your masters also, masters and bachelors also, you can install this root and do your graphical analysis in this root framework. Now see the success of this root. CERN found Higgs with root. This all plots indicates the discovery of Higgs boson, right? So this is the power of root. And let me show you what you can do with root. Okay, so here I have written this simple, very simple root code. Okay, so what basically I am doing is I am just generating random numbers and I want to create a histogram plot. As you can see here, this is the histogram plot. Okay, I just want to create a histogram plot for random numbers and see what kind of a pattern I am getting. So let's first close this and run this code. Just write root on your terminal and it will start root in few seconds. Okay, so my computer is little bit slow. I hope it will. Yes, it has started. And to execute, let me close this thing. To execute this code, I will just write .x cos dist.c and see what we are getting. Within a few seconds, it will generate a histogram plot for me. Okay, so this kind of a distribution I'm getting, right? But if we look carefully, then there is a pattern in this distribution. And if we want to fit some pattern, then go in this fit panel and you will have a panel appear. And yes, this kind of a Gaussian curve you can fit. And see the power of this thing. You have mean and standard deviation automatically. Just hit the fit button and you will have a nice Gaussian distribution on your actual data and you will have a mean and standard deviation. Not only that, you will have this information on your panel, on your terminal. So this is what you can do with root. Obviously, you can do much more things with root. This was a very simple example. Now, next thing, solid state physics. For solid state physics, this quantum espresso is really helpful. So Quantum Espresso is an integrated suite of open source computer codes for electronic structure calculation and materials modeling at nanoscale. Basically, you can create nanomaterials with Quantum Espresso. And it is based on density functional theory, plane waves, and pseudo potential. So you can model your nanomaterial with help of this Quantum Espresso, and it will generate this kind of a band gaps, and it will also generate this kind of a Fermi surface for you. See how powerful these softwares are. Now, obviously, Quantum Espresso is not alone. There are other softwares as well. For example, Schrodinger or Avogadro, Gaussian. Okay, this type of softwares will generate your energy band gap profile and Fermi surface for you. So this is what you can achieve with help of this softwares. Now comes the king of all softwares, AutoCAD and ANSYS. Let's first start with AutoCAD. So what is basically AutoCAD? AutoCAD is a computer-aided design software that architects, engineers, and construct professionals rely on to create precise 2D and 3D drawings. So this type of a two-dimensional and three-dimensional models you can create with AutoCAD, right? And let me tell you very clearly that AutoCAD does not solve any differential equation or any physics problem. You have to go for ANSYS. So ANSYS software is designed for engineering tasks like simulation, structural analysis, engineering design, mathematical computation, etc. So in ANSYS, you can create this kind of a model and you can study your system. For example, this is the part of your car engine, and you can study how gasoline will behave inside this this system's part, right? Not only that, you can study aerodynamics of your car. Okay, so that's how powerful it is. Now, what you can do with AutoCAD and ANSYS is you can create your three-dimensional model in your computer with AutoCAD, and you can load those files in ANSYS, and ANSYS will solve physics problems for you. Okay, so together they are they can create a very powerful they can solve very complex engineering tasks, and lots of engineers use this. Civil engineers, mechanical engineers, and scientists also use ANSYS and AutoCAD for their analysis purpose. Obviously, there are alternates for AutoCAD, and one which I know is CATIA, CATIA, maybe. Okay, so alternative to AutoCAD is CATIA, and alternative for ANSYS is COMSOL. And I heard that COMSOL is much more user friendly than ANSYS. Now, the last section, further reading. So if you are interested more, then I think you should refer this literature. First is individual YouTube creators. These three are my favorite. First is Sabine Hosenfelder. She is a scientist by profession and a leading science critic. So if you want to know how physics is doing right now, then I strongly refer her videos. If you are interested in plasma physics, then you should subscribe Fusion Industry Association for weekly updates. And if you are interested in artificial intelligence and physics both, then 2 Minute Papers is for you. Okay, so these three channels are fantastic. Some books I recommend. First is Lost in Math by this lady, Sabine Hosenfelder. And in her book, she explained how mathematical beauty can lead physics to astray. Next book is The Trouble with Physics. In this book, Lee Smolin has debunked a so-called string theory hype. Okay. And last is Merchants of Doubt. I don't want to spoil this book for you, so you go to Google or purchase this book and read it. It is really great. Okay. The next thing which I recommend is obvious, and you probably know, is you should check websites of all these laboratories. So if you are interested in nuclear physics, then you should check regularly the website of GSI Fair, Fermilab, Triumph, RIKEN, FRF. Okay, these labs you should regularly check. Obviously, son, how can I forget it? And if you are interested in plasma physics, then go for ITER, Tokamak Energy, Princeton Plasma Physics, right? PPPL, basically, and Science Giant, NASA. So what I want to say is, if you check this website regularly, then you will know that how experiments are performed and what are the opportunities for you, how you can uh, uh, how they regularly upload some internship, or if you want to pursue your final year project in this laboratory, then they will tell you how you can perform experiments on your website, on their laboratory. I'm sorry. So, with this, I conclude. I know it was difficult, but I tried to bridge the gap between these two giants, physics and computer science. And at last, thank you for your patience and listening me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Devyang. It was certainly a wonderful talk. As you can see, the chat box are popping, everybody's writing. Before we wind up today's session, I want to give this session in your hands, all the extended family and the family, all the extended family of Project Bhagwati. If you guys got any questions, you are free to ask Divya. So you can ask any questions regarding any of these programming languages or its use in physics. Or one more thing, Divyang is currently a PhD student in St. Mary's University, Canada. So maybe some of you are thinking about going to study abroad. You can also approach him with your questions there. Yes.
Yes.
Maybe you can raise your hand and you can start asking.
In chat box.
No, in chat box, everybody are praising your talk. So it was wonderful talk that. Yes. So you can read the chat box, but Shubham, meanwhile, Shubham, you can please unmute yourself. You can ask your doubt.
Yeah, hello, good evening, and thank you so much for this very overwhelming talk. And I'm also too much interested in programming, like inclined to programming. So, main thing I wanted to ask is I'm actually in TY BSc Physics, and I am very you can say average in physics, but I love programming. I wanted to ask that how can I land any internship or projects in any uh, good industry, or I mean good like you went for Germany, so something like that.
So, as I said in my last slide, you have to check websites of that national laboratories regularly, and sometimes your professor may inform you that these are the opportunities. So that way you can have your opportunity. But one thing I must emphasize, that any one programming language you should know very well, so that they can give you that opportunity. Okay, see this foreign internships are really costly, so I don't want you to go there and at the end of your internship you I don't want that you have nothing in your hand. Okay, so if you are good at any programming language or any software, then you at the end of your internship you can do some fruitful work. Okay, and you will also learn many things from them. Okay, so first thing which I recommend is you first learn any one programming language and gain some expertise over on it, and start applying wherever you get opportunity in any national laboratory. Okay.
Yes, and one last thing I wanted to ask is like, uh, for applying such programs, it's for example, it's physics centric or whatever the subject it's centric, and programming is used as tool. So my physics is not that much good. My programming is enough. I mean, I would
Yeah,
not say it's very good, but it's decent. So
yeah,
how can I bridge that gap? Like, obviously, someone with good physics will be given priority, maybe, if that's the case.
yeah. So what I have learned from my experience is you don't have to be a perfect, right? You can always learn from your scientific group members. Okay, so when I pursued my final year project at GSI, I I can't claim that I knew nuclear physics. Okay, but I learned from my guide and my colleagues. So I discussed with them and asked my doubts. Okay, so from the so from that way you can learn physics from them, and for I think that way you can bridge that physics gap. Okay, so best way to learn things is from discussing. Okay, you discuss things and you will learn things. So I think that was my answer.
Yes, thank you so much.
Shubham, for this wonderful question. Now moving on, and I completely agree with Divyang, because there is no such thing as not so good in physics and good in programming. There is no such things. We all are not so good in physics and not so good in programming and not so good in not so good.
Yes.
It is just where you see your reference point that matters.
Yes.
Yes, if you are setting your reference point at Richard Feynman, all of us feel that we are not so good in physics.
Yes,
So,
obviously.
so
Indeed.
yes, so there is no such thing as not so good in physics. We just keep working and we just keep getting better day by day. That's all. Yes, somebody else who has the question. Which is good simulating tool for astronomy or astrophysics? Swati has a question.
Yeah. So if you want engineering, if you want astrophysics tools, like if you are interested in building a spacecraft and all that kind of thing, then Giant is best, because Giant is not only used for nuclear physics, NASA is also using it. Okay, and I know in PDPU I learned that they are using Giant for simulating effects of solar radiation, how a spacecraft would um, is Giant? Yes, Giant is open source. Yes, and how they wanted to know how spacecraft material would behave in outer space. Outer space. So Giant, in my knowledge, is best. And if you want pure astrophysics, then I don't know about that. But I think some fluid simulation models will help.
Swati is satisfied with the answer. Now moving on, if somebody else has any question. Yes, Shubham, you want to ask something?
Yeah. So recently, I have like heard more about quantum computing. So I don't know anything about it. Obviously, I don't know anything about it. So how would you advise someone to just explore from a bird eye view and then decide to whether to pursue it or not, or something like that?
quantum computing is currently a new topic. So obviously you can find your own way, but it is my recommendation that it is a new field. So I'm afraid that you won't find any PhD guide or any mentor for your PhD in what do you say, quantum computers. Okay, and currently it is very limited. If you see different sources, then very few laboratories have access to quantum computers, right? So in that case, I don't want you to gamble on this new area, right? But obviously, it is up to you. Your choice. You can go for this new field if you want, if you wish.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, and I would just like to add two more lines in Divyang's answer about quantum computation. That you can contact Professor Kanhaiya Pandey of IIT Guwahati. You can write him an email because he's making one such quantum computer in his laboratory. He's trying to make it, not making it. He's trying to make it there in his laboratory. So Professor Kanhaiya Pandey is the guy to look up when you want to talk about quantum computation. Okay, so you can write him an email. You can find his email address on IIT Guwahati website, and you can write him an email. I think he might be able to respond.
Yes, so he would be the correct person to
Yes,
contact.
because, yes.
So, thank you, Nisarg bhai, but wouldn't it be a too big leap to directly
No.
contact him?
There are no leaps or big leaps. You can just directly write an email to Nobel laureates. It is their job to respond you or not. Our job is to just write an email, and we should do it all the time. If they don't want to respond, it is okay.
Right.
Okay, so if you feel like any doubts, you should even write to Nobel laureates. Okay, so don't shy away from writing emails. If they don't reply, it is okay. But we should write emails.
Right. Thank you.
Right? Yes. Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, we should bring this session to an end. So I would again like to thank Divyang for this wonderful talk. You started with a charged particle in motion, and then initially, actually, I should say, even before that, you introduced us to different philosophies and different branches of universe and how do we study this Mother Nature. And then you tried to bridge the gap between all of them, and you started with charged particles and then to AI, and then you showed us some models of AI, and then you actually moved to different softwares, starting from Python to AutoCAD and CATIA. So you just took us through a very large cruise, and we enjoyed this ride all together. So thank you very much for this wonderful talk. You introduced to some great open source softwares, and we will be grateful. We'll always be grateful for these introductions for different softwares, and I am sure that all of us will be using one or the other software in the future. And they'll be contacting you in some need. I'm sure everybody will be watching your YouTube channel from now on. That is PYPHY. They'll be going to your YouTube channel. They'll be watching some new videos. They'll be trying to do some coding on their own. So whenever they are required. And I'm sure that everybody here is excited as much as I am. So thank you for this wonderful talk, Divyang. And I really thank each and everyone in the audience to stay there for 1 hour and 15 minutes on the Monday evening. So it is not a small job you guys have done. I'm really thankful to each one of you. Thank you very much. If you want to be notified, if you want to get notifications about such future public talks of Project Bhagwati, do write us an email on projectbhagwati@gmail.com. So we would send you an email whenever we held these kind of talks. So you'll be notified. Okay. So do write us an email on projectbhagwati@gmail.com. Okay. You can write us any questions about Project Bhagwati there as well. We'll be happy to help them. Yes. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a nice life.
Thank you.
Thank you Divyang.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
પતી ગયું મિશન, પતી ગયું. છેલ્લે મોકલી લિંક. હા, આ પૂરું કરી શકે.